This past weekend, the New York Rangers ended up making a very good trade with the Colorado Avalanche by selling off a couple pieces and ended up getting back a very good package and in turn that definitely could be helpful in the future and also potentially even this season for the New York Rangers. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the sneaky pickup and kind of the really good, maybe underrated pickup out of this deal with the Colorado Avalanche for the New York Rangers, as well as we're going to take a look a bit about where the New York Rangers are at right now and kind of talk about how they've been playing as of late and kind of talk about what's going to be happening up until the trade deadline here, as there's only a couple more games left to play for the Rangers, and right now they're in a very tight race in the Eastern Conference for those two wildcard spots. We'll also take a look at that as well. But starting off here, taking a look at the trade that went down, and then we'll kind of talk about the sneaky piece that was picked up in this deal with Colorado. But if you didn't already hear, the Rangers traded away Ryan Lindgren, Jimmy Vesey, two expiring contracts this upcoming offseason, alongside a low-tier defense prospect in Haan for two 2025 draft picks, a second and a fourth rounder, alongside two players. One being a 24-year-old center/winger standing at about 6'3" there, a quite physical forward in Juuso Parssinen, could possibly end up being a pretty solid third liner for the New York Rangers and maybe could end up taking that third line center spot going forward. We'll have to wait and see kind of how he plays, but also the Rangers ended up acquiring Calvin Haan, a veteran defenseman from the Avalanche as well in this package, and I think this may be a bit of an overlooked piece by some Rangers fans, and I'm not saying he's going to be some absolute game-changing player for this Rangers team, but I think when you really take a look at this trade here, and some Rangers fans don't quite see the value that the Rangers got back in return, and I really do think the Rangers absolutely maximized their potential value in this deal. They were not going to be able to get more for Jimmy Vesey, Ryan Lindgren, and a low-tier defense prospect in Haan combined. That package together with Vesey and Lindgren both being expiring contracts, Lindgren maybe having a career high in points, but he's not playing his best kind of all-around game right now. So I think when you really take a look at what the Rangers gave up and what they got back in return and the circumstances of where these kind of players were at, being expiring contracts, being pending UFAs, I think the Rangers did an absolutely incredible job with what they got back. Now, I understand the Rangers did not get back a high-tier prospect or a first-round pick or something, but I just don't think that was really realistic, if we're being honest here. I mean, a guy like Ryan Lindgren, Vesey, Haan, these are not some extremely valuable assets, especially when two of those guys there are, expiring contracts. They're going to be, UFAs this upcoming offseason, so I really think the Rangers did a phenomenal job, and I honestly don't think the Rangers really got much worse, if any at all, from this deal. I mean, you consider you're right now pretty much seeing a guy like Brett Berard on that fourth line over someone like Jimmy Vesey. I think that's a fine move. I think Berard is definitely a very talented player and is always going to be a much more kind of promising player going forward. So I like having Berard there over Vesey. Now, is it ideal that a nice kind of talented prospect like that is on the fourth line? No, but he's still doing pretty good, I think, and has shown like he's obviously deserving of being in the NHL. So I think having Berard up here playing over Vesey is definitely a smart thing for this franchise. And now kind of coming back around and talking about Calvin Haan, and he is a player who I don't think is really much worse than Ryan Lindgren at this point with what we saw to Lindgren with the Rangers here. Maybe Lindgren can go to the Avs and end up being a much better player and kind of get back on track to where he's been in the past with the Rangers, being a very solid kind of top four caliber, defensive defenseman there, will have him that kind of heart and soul game, being a great teammate, always giving that effort and obviously giving whatever he possibly can to the team. If he can be that guy for the Avs, that's phenomenal for them, and maybe can help them go on a nice playoff run, and I would be very happy to see that for Ryan Lindgren and the Avs, because they obviously have a very talented team, very good squad, and they're a very exciting, fun team to watch. So I'll definitely be watching Ryan Lindgren and the Avs in the upcoming playoffs, that's for sure. But, for the Rangers here, did they get much worse by adding in Calvin Haan and kind of getting rid of Ryan Lindgren? And obviously Fox has been injured, so we're seeing like Zach Jones come up and stuff like that too, but that's obviously different circumstances. But if you're just kind of going one for one there, Calvin Haan compared to Ryan Lindgren and kind of what Lindgren has done for this Rangers team this season and kind of how he's played, I don't think at all there's much of a difference kind of, their value-wise to this team. Now, obviously, on the trade market, there's definitely a difference there, which we're obviously seeing here because Calvin Haan was pretty much just kind of a throw-in this deal. But the Rangers definitely could decide to flip him at this deadline, which it wouldn't be the worst idea, but I also think could be a pretty solid just guy to keep around on this team, to have a veteran guy back there. He can just be a solid kind of veteran defenseman, more defensive kind of guy, but solid puck mover, brings a bit of physicality to the lineup there as well. So I think overall, keeping him around is not the worst idea, but if you can get back a fourth round pick, maybe it's not the worst idea to sell him off as well, although you would be kind of depleting a lot of your depth out of the defense core right now, especially with a guy like Adam Fox out. But I think overall this deal was really good for the Rangers, and I definitely think Calvin Haan was a very nice pickup. Although it wasn't a kind of maybe big part of this trade, I think it was a really nice kind of add-on to this deal where the Rangers are getting back a very solid veteran defenseman. Taking a look now, though, at Calvin Haan's stats, kind of what he's done so far this season, where so far with the Rangers, he does have 2 games played, 1 assist there, not too bad of a start. He also has 7 hits in those 2 games played, also 2 block shots, 2 takeaways, no giveaways. Off to a pretty decent start there, and also is averaging 16 minutes and 39 seconds per night in those 2 games with the Rangers. Then you've got here, though, with Colorado so far this season before making the move from Colorado to the Rangers. He ended up having 44 games played, 7 points there, all assists, ended up having a total of 59 hits, 58 block shots, and averaged a total of 14 minutes and 55 seconds per night. So he may not be the most flashy player in the world, but can definitely just be a solid, reliable, more defensive defenseman for this New York Rangers team down the stretch here as they push towards the playoffs. But now let's kind of talk a bit about the New York Rangers and kind of where they're at right now in that Eastern Conference wildcard race, as they're currently battling with, about half a dozen teams, you could say: the Columbus Blue Jackets, Detroit Red Wings, Ottawa Senators, and Montreal Canadiens. Now, you could also kind of add in the Bruins, Flyers, and Islanders there, but they are kind of falling out of that race there a little bit, so it's not the most likely scenario there, and it does seem like the top 3 spots in each division are quite solidified right now, but I do think there is still a chance that we could possibly see the Rangers, maybe if they get red hot here and there, 7-3 in the last 10, on a 2-game winning streak, back-to-back, 4-0 shutouts there for the Rangers, using both their goaltenders, Jonathan Quick and Igor Shesterkin. If this team can heat up here, and maybe the Devils kind of slip back a bit as, they're 5-5 in the last 10, not playing their best hockey, and with Jack Hughes being out injured for a decent amount of time, at least it seems like, that's going to be a pretty major loss for the Devils. And then there is the Blue Jackets right now in between, the Rangers and Devils right now in that 4th place spot. So the Rangers are going to be fighting with another team for that 3rd spot there. And we could see kind of a 3-team battle, you could say, almost for maybe that 3rd spot there. And even the Canes aren't terribly, much further ahead right now than the Devils. So there is a chance there we could kind of see these spots kind of get flipped around right now between kind of 2 and 5 in the division. But either way, I think it's going to be a nice kind of race here down the stretch to kind of see who ends up getting these spots in the Metropolitan Division. But as of right now, the Rangers are on the outside looking in, but definitely still have a chance to make the playoffs and could possibly go on a bit of a run if Igor Shesterkin is absolutely lights out. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely hit that like button for daily New York Rangers content. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on where the New York Rangers are at right now with their kind of playoff chances, as well as what are your thoughts on, that trade as a whole or the Lindgren deal there. I think overall it was phenomenal, and I know I've made a few videos now talking about it, but I think this really was a phenomenal deal for the Rangers going forward, but also potentially right now it might not be too big of a loss. I don't think so. Really and truly, I think this was just an absolute A+ trade for the Rangers, but also it was a pretty good deal for the Avs as well, who definitely got quite a bit stronger. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.